Welcome back to another episode of No Huddle Necessary. I am your host, Jeff Barnes, here with our championship week predictions and comments. We got topics galore coming your way, whether we're talking about the games this weekend, the games last weekend, and some of the front office and head coaching moves going forward. But first, let me introduce you to our panelists. Just two tonight, as our guest is no show. So, with that being said, first things first, let's bring in the guy who came through the heavy hitter round last week. Didn't pull it off, though, but he gave him a heck of a fight. Dom, welcome back.
Yes. Like I said, I didn't get the win last week, but, hey, can't win them all. Michael Jordan missed a couple shots. It's all good.
Yeah, you didn't come through unscathed, but you gave as well as you got.
Yeah.
It was a very tight contest all the way.
It was.
All right, well, we got a returning face to the group. We're talking about our Eagles writer, the prodigy, and we thought the Fly Eagles fly for him. That's right. We're talking about Thomas Brown. Welcome back, Thomas.
How we doing, everybody? Until we figure out our head coaching situation, I would like to prolong that Fly Eagles fly slogan. It's very challenging times in Philadelphia, but it's all right.
Hey, Deuce State is going to be your head coach.
Well, that's going to be an interesting one. We talked about some of that last week. We talked about some of that last week, but they're interviewing everybody. They give them credit. They're canvassing, and they didn't just use one black coach to satisfy the Rooney Rule. They used several. So,
oh my goodness.
Give them credit. They're doing their due diligence. I don't know why they're kicking the tires on Kellen Moore as a head coach, but nevertheless, yeah. Listen, I'm not ready for that. I don't think anybody's ready for that. But, yeah. Well,
we'll see.
Yeah, indeed. Well, with that being said, let's get this show on the road, fellas. Time to get started. Time to get it going. First quarter, here we come. All right, so first things first, we got to talk about the Bucs. Team that was dominated by the Saints during the regular season, figured out how to beat them in the playoffs. And right now, if you're watching this Bucs team, there's something going on here. It resembles that 2007 run that the Giants had, where they got swept in the regular season by the Cowboys, won in the wild card weekend, and then went on to the divisional round to upset the team that beat them twice in the regular season. Now they're going to go to face Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, who much like Brett Favre that year, had this young quarterback drafted behind him that's having a magical year, and it's going to be a very cold day in Lambeau. Boy, oh boy, history has a strange way of repeating itself. So, with that being said, we're going to get off the Bucs for right now. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to talk about the guys that lost to the Bucs, and particularly the quarterback that lost to the Bucs. We keep hearing this was going to be Drew Brees' last game. If you talk to Drew Brees, he has not committed to that. Do you think he goes through with the retirement? So, Thomas, since you haven't been here in a while, you get to kick us off. So, Thomas, this one's all yours.
Oh boy. I think that it's time for Drew to hang him up. I really personally don't think it helped that he had those fractured ribs that sidelined him for at least he was gone during the season. I think it messed with his flow, getting into playoff time, and it really affected his throwing. You can see how, even before the injury, he was struggling to throw the ball down the field. But even afterwards, he can't even throw the ball past 20 yards, which is an issue. And just going off of his stats, it doesn't really make a terrific case for him to come back. He ranked 20th in yards, almost having 3,000 yards and 2,942 yards passing. He was tied for 17th in touchdowns with 24. And if we're talking about playoff history with the New Orleans Saints, it's not looking too great because the last time they've been to the Super Bowl was 2009. That was 12 years ago. Not to mention that the Saints, they have quite a few decisions to make along with whatever Drew decides to do because they have a lot of people that they either need to sign or let go for the sake of their salary cap situation. So I think putting this on the perspective, it'll probably be easier for the Saints to go with a cheaper option and try to see if they can find somebody in-house to start as potentially the franchise quarterback or looking to draft for Drew's replacement. But I think this is it for Drew.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Way to kick it off. All right, Dom.
Mm-hmm.
What's your rebuttal to that?
No, I agree. Listen, I think that was kind of the sentiment coming into the season, that this was going to be Drew's last time, his kind of last rodeo, his last hurrah. There was actually a moment that I feel like Brees is definitely going through with this. I feel like his mind is made up. Two moments really that kind of solidified it for me were actually one was during the game and one was after the game. There was a moment during the game when the game was kind of over. It was kind of clear that the Saints were going to lose. There was someone who was working camera kind of caught Drew Brees, and you could see him saying to Jameis Winston, "This is your team now." And so that then mixed with the whole situation with him and Tom Brady kind of after the game, just talking and really kind of having what looked like a heartfelt kind of just, hey, like this has been fun type moment. And also Drew has a gig lined up to be an announcer or a commentator. So he's not going too far away from the game. Right. But I think Drew Brees, it's been a heck of a career. You look, his name is all throughout the record books. He's going to be like top 3 in basically any major quarterback statistical category. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats. I guess the only stain for people who might want to hold a grudge against Drew Brees is that his playoff record, maybe you would have expected someone to have who has the numbers that he has to have more success. I think he has only something like 8 wins in the postseason or something like that. So, but all in all, I mean, Drew Brees, like I said, one of the all-time greats. I think it's a disappointing end. I think he would have liked to have put up a better performance, obviously through 3 interceptions, things like that. It also all wasn't his fault. Jared Cook had a pretty bad fumble that really took the wind out of that Saints team. The Saints still had an opportunity to win if he doesn't do that. But like I said, I think Drew would have liked to have gone off on a better note, but it's really hard to get that storybook, right off into the sunset ending. It very rarely happens. So like I said, all in all, Drew Brees, it's been a phenomenal career. Go on and be the next Tony Romo, I guess, as far as commentating goes. We'll see. But good job, Drew. Like I said, disappointing end, but I don't think you could have asked for much more out of Drew Brees for what he gave and what he meant to the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen all of that. And I just wonder, we've seen this before, the speeches on the sideline, the hanging out after the game, the last hurrah, and then giving a couple of weeks away from it. Some guys can't let it go. They get their time off, they get their time to relax the arm, and then a couple of months later, okay, I'm ready.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre pulled that 4 years in a row.
You did that like 3 times.
It was 4 years in a row for Brett Favre. He sat there at the end of the season and cried, I'm done. And then, he's right back at it. And then that 1 year where he said, I'm done, I'm retired. What happened? A couple of months later, after all the mini camps and everything was done, we get ready to go to training camp. Okay, guys, I'm back.
Yep.
Well, not so fast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he said all of those things to the guys and all of that. I just am not sure if he's really, really heart set on walking away. There's something to that he may be back. Well, with that being Go ahead, Thomas, before we switch it up.
Yeah, I just want to put this in its proper perspective. When Brett Favre was going through what I like to call his quarterback crisis, he, it came across that, he knew, we all knew that it was time for him to hang it up. But it was that one incentive on his contract, whether it was contract in general or whatever the case may be, that made him come back. And franchises like the Vikings and the Jets have no problem doing that. But I think with a franchise like New Orleans, where, if you bring Drew back, you're bringing back a whole lot of more money, which means a whole lot of more issues elsewhere on the roster that you might want to take care of. It's like, hey, look, we have no problem bringing Drew back, but we won't mind if we see you on NBC someday. I'm just saying. So,
Well, the one thing about retirements, though, is it's not like you get a clean slate when a guy retires. When he retires, there's the extra portion of the prorated bonus that he was given early in the contract, that's guaranteed money. That he has 2-3 years left on the deal. Right. Well, then he has to pay that guaranteed money back. In some cases they say we'll let you keep a portion of it, because that money's already spent. Those guys already spent that money. But nevertheless, there's a certain part of that it's gone. It doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And so you don't get away scot-free. There's still dead money involved. It's just less of it because there's certain portions of it that do come back to the team. It's not so much of like when you're cutting a guy. When you cut him, he gets that money and it hits the cap no matter what, because he's still going to play somewhere else. But nevertheless, the dead money aspect of it isn't as bad when a guy retires. It still hurts because there's certain portions of it you don't get rid of, but there's portions of it that you can recoup. And that's the one luxury of it is maybe there's one caveat of it all is maybe there's a portion of it they do get back that helps them sign somebody. But you already have Jameis there. You're probably going to get him for dirt cheap. You already got the other quarterback, Tanner. You have Hill, Taysom Hill. Yep. Right. So you have those two quarterbacks coming back, which they love to do all the gadget stuff and all the stuff with those guys. So, and then your traditional drop back in Jameis, but you got to make sure the offensive line stays intact. You got to get some playmaker at receiver because all you got is a possession guy in Thomas. So there's
Michael Thomas, by the way, who could be on the move.
Yeah.
All the stuff that we saw with them, there was a lot of turmoil with Michael Thomas, so he could be on the move. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. So remember, he got paid. So if you get rid of him, there is money that you're going to eat by getting rid of him. Trade or release. Just because you trade a guy doesn't mean that the salary goes away. There's a portion of that that still sticks on your cap. So salary cap is not a thing to play with. When you sign a guy, you better be all in on him because if anything goes wrong, you're going to eat a large portion of that contract. All right. I think we beat up the Saints enough. Let's move on. Second quarter. Oh, man. Those Chiefs were rolling along. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Concussion hit. So this week, the early reports had Mahomes out for this week. Now, all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes has not been officially ruled out yet for this weekend. So with the money on the line, Super Bowl in the future for one of these two teams, can the Chiefs, if Mahomes doesn't play, which most people believe he will not, I don't think he'll make it through concussion protocol in time, but just in case the miracle does happen that he does, if he doesn't play, can the Chiefs still overcome the Bills without their MVP quarterback? So, Dom, you're going to start us off on this one.
Right. So, for one, I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to, cast any aspersions over the league or anything, Patrick Mahomes is going to play. They're going to pull some strings. Something's going to happen. He's going to make it. He's going to be fine. Or at least so they will tell us. But as far as can they win without him, at first look, I wanted to say no, but when you look at this roster and you look at Andy Reid, it's very hard to count them out at any point in time. Yes, Chad Henne is no Patrick Mahomes at this point in his career. But when you look at the amount of weapons that they have, having a Tyreek Hill, having a Travis Kelce, having, Mecole Hardman, Le'Veon Bell, maybe they get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back for this week. We'll see. But there's so many weapons, and then Andy Reid is such a great offensive guru that he can figure out what Chad Henne does well in a quick time and put up at least what will be a proficient offense. Maybe not explosive, but will be efficient enough. Now, the real question would be, can this defense slow down a Bills team that is playing really well? Now, they struggled against Baltimore's defense, but that's because Baltimore's defense matches up really well against them. That's going to be the big thing. Will the Chiefs, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't play, what are they going to get from this defense? Now, the Chiefs defense, for whatever reason, they find a way to flip the switch in the playoffs. We saw it last year, that defense, that was kind of the weak spot for this team. And then playoffs came and that defense looked completely different and really started playing well. It's kind of been the same case this year. Defense was so-so, wasn't terrible, wasn't great. And then last week they played pretty well against a good Cleveland Browns team. So if that happens, and maybe if Josh Allen has a little bit of a revert back to his old habits, where he's trying to lateral the ball for some reason, like he did last year against the Houston Texans in the playoffs, he's just trying to make too many plays, then maybe. But I want to give them a chance. I would not bet on them, but I can't count out that many weapons, and I can't count out Andy Reid. So I'll give them a shot. I'll say yes, they can. It's going to take a Herculean effort from everyone, but it can happen any given Sunday.
All right. I got something to add to that, but I'll wait till they're all done. All right, Thomas, your turn. Your turn.
Okay. I was a little bit on the fence on this one as well. But I'm going to say, regardless of whether Mahomes is in the lineup, and I think the Chiefs will find a way to pull it out. And that's simply because of the defense. They're playing well at the right time. Tyrann Mathieu is leading the squad in terms of moving all over the place to find a way to tackle or to be in the right position at the right time to make a play for that secondary. You're going back to last week, they held Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the running back duo of the league, held them to just 101 yards rushing. Their offensive line have allowed just one sack, and that was with a Browns front line that had no problem getting after Big Ben the week before. And so, just putting that all in perspective as far as last week's concerned, you can see with the eye test that they could play a complementary style of football, which is cool. They don't necessarily have to rely on Henne. I think that with the fact that they have Bell and Williams in their backfield, I think that helps time of possession and helps chew up the clock as well, which is something that Baltimore did on Buffalo last week, where the Ravens took care of that defense as far as running the football, trying to keep the ball away from Josh Allen as much as possible. And that puts in its proper perspective, because maybe the defense doesn't have to necessarily do all the necessary work against Josh Allen, because Josh Allen may not have the ball as much. And that's in regards to the Bills defense, which I want to go after. This defense is very inconsistent to me, which is it's scary as far as the Bills' playoff hopes right now, because they have the moments like the pick six last week that if the pick six doesn't happen, who knows what happens in that game. you know, we have no idea. But then you have moments where you have the Colts the week before move the ball down the field over and over and over again, whether it's running the ball on them or passing on them. They had no problem giving them leeway in that regards. And so in that perspective, the Bills defense could be a little bit of a liability, which might cost the Bills in the end. But I think with Mahomes in the game, I think, it might be a totally different story.
All right. So, yeah, I'm not going to count the Chiefs out, even if they don't have Mahomes, for one specific reason. You're talking about a coach who's had playoff success without his star quarterback in the past.
Yep.
I mean, for Christ's sake, in Philadelphia, the guy won playoff games with A.J. Feely. Okay? So, give Andy Reid his due. Yeah. With the weapons he has on that team, as long as the defense doesn't botch it up, they still have a chance. They have 2 excellent runners. 3, if they get Edwards-Helaire back. They have a very good offensive line, and they have speed that is hard to match on the outside. And even the Bills can't match it. And let's face it, the Bills were the perfect storm for the Ravens. And the Ravens, unfortunately, who would have been one of the better matchups for the Bills, because if they had to go to Kansas City, they were done no matter what. But the fact that they went to Buffalo, a team they matched up with, and their shortcomings came out as always, right? What did they do? They took away the big plays, made the running game tough for the Ravens, and plain and simple, they said, Lamar Jackson, yeah, you may have to break a couple of runs here and there, but you're not going to make the big play. And we all know their offense, because their offensive coordinator is not built for the big play in the passing game. They're just not. They're just not. If they're not running play action and running by you, they just don't have it. That's not Greg Roman's MO when he was in San Francisco. It's not his MO when he was in Buffalo. It's not his MO now. So shame on the Ravens for not learning that lesson. But, when it comes down to it, can they win without Mahomes? Yes. Is it less likely that they win without Mahomes? Yes. This may just be the perfect lineup for the Bills to get back to the Super Bowl. Scary.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said before, I think what really helps the Chiefs out, regardless, is their running back by committee, regardless of whether Helaire is there or not, because the best thing you could have in January and February football is to run the ball and stop the run.
Yep.
Both of those things, Buffalo Bills don't know much of. Devin Singletary can't seem to run the football. They're without Zach Moss, so they're relying on Josh Allen to throw it all over the place. Good luck with that. And then stopping the run. I mean, they allowed 150 yards to Baltimore last week. So, I mean, who knows what happens with Bell and Williams and these guys, and especially with the line pushing them the way they are. We'll see. But I don't see the defense stepping up like I see the Chiefs do.
I'll tell you what, they can make one really big mistake. And their really big mistake would be thinking that you could play pressure packages and play man on the outside against their receivers, thinking that you can rattle Henny. All it takes is a couple of easy throws, and you're out of this game.
Listen.
Yeah.
Going man against Tyreek Hill is basically suicide, is defensive suicide. Good luck trying that. Go man to man with Tyreek Hill and see how that goes.
Setting yourself up for the big play versus the big play receiver is the wrong move to make. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So halfway through the show, it's time for a commercial. In the words of Chris Rock in The Fifth Element, commercial.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamndsmerch.com. Get yours today.
All right, and we are back and ready for more. So get ready for our third quarter. Very tight contest between two writers here, two of the originals. So let's get ready to go. Third quarter. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We have talked about head coaches and minorities and GMs, and so far it has not been very fulfilling if you're rooting for a minority head coach or GM in the NFL. Granted, the Falcons finally named one, and it was Fontenot, who's an African-American. So we have one African-American GM that's been hired in this cycle. However, no head coaches so far. The Falcons have hired a head coach, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Jets. Now, the Jets did hire Robert Saleh, who is a Muslim, giving the NFL their first Muslim head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not a minority. That's a religion, not a race. Okay?
Right.
So when it comes down to it, there are no minority head coaches hired so far this cycle. We still have two more open positions in the Eagles and San Diego. And all accounts, San Diego doesn't look like it's going to be a minority, the way they're talking. So right now, we're talking about it. Eric Bieniemy's been out there, and there are so many things people are talking about with Bieniemy. Is he, is it something with the background? Is it this? Is it the interview? So far, Eric Bieniemy's been passed up, and we've seen all these teams that have hired their head coaches. None of them have been minorities. You guys tell me, is it time for the NFL to finally admit that the leadership positions are not a meritocracy? All right, so why don't you start this one off, Thomas?
Yeah. They should have acknowledged this. Man, Lord knows how long. But it's time. I want to put in this proper perspective of the day and age that we're in right now. Majority of your league, in terms of players, are taken by storm by African Americans. And out of all the head coaches in the league, there's one true head coach that is literally showing the rest of the league, hey, look, you put somebody in power that's of color, you might have some good things happen. That being Brian Flores, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He literally picked the Miami Dolphins that were looking like they were the worst team in NFL history and turned them into a 10-win team the next season. How that happens, I have no clue to this day, but it happened, okay? And I believe that's because of a culture change that was inspired through him that led to players that bought into his system and what he was trying to do, okay? With that being said, Pep Hamilton in Los Angeles with the Chargers, he's available, believe it or not. You should probably give him a call. In case you don't know who he is, he's what I like to call the quarterback whisperer. He helped lead the Chargers to a top 10 passing attack this past season. And he also developed arguably the rookie of the year, if not the offensive rookie of the year, and Justin Herbert. Okay. Eric Bieniemy should have been hired last year. He's still on the Chiefs coaching staff. He's won a Super Bowl. He's developed Patrick Mahomes. He's raised his game to historic heights. Okay. And it's getting to a point that, if it hasn't been made already, that it makes you as the fan question, what else does a minority coach, GM have to do to be given an opportunity? Because these examples such as Hamilton and Bieniemy do not grow on trees. You do not come across these opportunities very often. And so teams like, oh, I don't know, Texans, oh my goodness. Y'all want to change things up? Hire somebody of color. I guarantee you it will put a lot of things at ease. Okay? Philadelphia. I have no idea what you want to do because you got rid of the wrong person. But granted, you want to change, you want to shake some things up, bring somebody in of color. I guarantee you it will make a difference for the entire locker room and coaching staff. Okay? But then I take a step back and I say, you know what? What about the guys that are already hired? Dan Campbell, who's going to the Lions as head coach. What has he done? Somebody tell me. I sure enough don't know. Besides being on the coattails of the New Orleans Saints staff, I have no clue. Okay? And in situations like this that make you think, wow, so I have to be offensive, a quarterback coach, an offensive coordinator, then I still might not get a shot. Maybe I'm a defensive coordinator, I might not get an opportunity. Maybe if I'm an assistant to the head coach, I still know if I might have a shot. Okay, that is an issue, and that needs to be fixed in a hurry. And if it doesn't, the NFL's image that's already been bad, that's already been tarnished to a degree, it's gonna look significantly worse.
All right, convincing argument. Let's see what Dominic's got to say about that.
I echo that sentiment. It's ridiculous what's going on in the NFL. I don't understand how you can have a league that more than 3/4 of the league is African American, and as of right now, you have 2 African American head coaches out of the 32 open positions, or out of the 32 positions. You had 7 head coaching positions open this year. 7. None of them have been filled by a minority, and it seems like none of them will be. Doesn't seem like Philadelphia is going to hire Eric Bieniemy, and it doesn't seem like now. Granted, if the Houston Texans want to keep Deshaun Watson, they better hire Eric Bieniemy. But as far as Eric Bieniemy goes, it's sad that the NFL tried to get cute with the Rooney Rule, but the Rooney Rule is just putting a Band-Aid on a stab wound. Doesn't do anything. It's nice dressing. It sounds nice. Has it really had any effect? No, none whatsoever. It's ridiculous. You have all of these situations, and there's always an excuse. A couple years ago, it was, teams want offensive coordinators and offensive-minded guys to be their head coaches, because a lot of the African-American coaches or coordinators were defensive guys. Well, if that's the case, Eric Bieniemy is an offensive coordinator. Has been an offensive coordinator for one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen. Has helped develop someone who probably will end up being the greatest quarterback of all time in Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so if it's not that, then it's we want someone who's come through that pipeline. It's like we want someone who has a background and things like that. And it's like, okay, well, how has that worked for any of the Bill Belichick pipeline? Matt Patricia sucked as a head coach. Bill O'Brien sucked as a head coach and a GM. Mike Vrabel, who they try and put on Bill Belichick, actually isn't from Bill Belichick's pipeline. He played for Bill Belichick. He was never on his staff. But then that same pipeline, Eric Bieniemy comes from Andy Reid. Well, then it's, Andy Reid's tree is a little toxic. Maybe we don't trust the guys that come from Andy Reid. Okay. Then it was, you know what? We maybe don't want someone who comes in here and is X's and O's. We want someone who can come in here and change the culture. Urban Meyer just got hired in Jacksonville. I don't know if anyone's forgotten about this, but didn't just 2 years ago, Ohio State got caught up in a sexual assault scandal, which was one of the reasons why Urban Meyer had to leave? Interesting. So what is it really about? You keep on finding all these excuses to hire white guys. But when someone who is as accomplished as Eric Bieniemy is in that position, there's always a reason why he gets passed over. You also have some of the guys who have been head coaches who get pulled. Hell, we saw it with ESPN. Adam Gase parted ways. Doug Marrone parted ways. Anthony Lynn was fired. Interesting way that you worded that. Okay. Then you look at just some of the other things. Todd Bowles with the Jets, he got pulled. If you felt like he should have been fired, okay. But there are certain guys who just, African Americans, one, we don't get the opportunity to coach, and when we do, we get the shortest leash in the world. Jeff Fisher kept getting jobs in the NFL, and Jeff Fisher was mediocre at best. So what is it really about? Yes, it's time. Let's just be honest. The owners, there's a race problem. Some of the owners are racist, point blank, period. And it's a problem that the NFL has danced around and has, put a dress on it. You can put a dress on a pig, but guess what? At the end of the day, it's still a pig. So it's sad, and there's really just no excuses for it anymore. It's just point blank, period. It's flat out racism.
Good points, fellas. Good points, and a lot of they're all very, very true. And it goes, well, it's a race card. Why do you keep playing the race card? There's a lot of people that don't understand when it comes to hiring in sports. And I'm going to use the NFL, but I'm also going to use college too, because college football has an even bigger problem with this issue. Yeah. All right. Because if you notice, when it comes to hiring the big school coaches, very few of them are minorities. There are so many winning black coaches, especially at the black college level, that never sniffed the FBS level as a head coach because they don't bother to look there. Okay. But now I'm going to stick to the NFL for this one. Okay. The biggest problem with the NFL when it comes to hiring is circles. We hire from circles. Well, if you look at those circles, most of those circles are white guys. Mm-hmm. So when you get a black coach that's somehow mingles into that circle, it's like, okay, you look at the coaching trees. Well, Bill Walsh had a big coaching tree. His tree spawned off the Holmgren's coaching tree, which spawned off now the Andy Reid's coaching tree. You had a very, very good Hall of Fame head coach in Tony Dungy, whose coaching tree, although not as vast, is very successful. One of his many assistants is, of course, the head coach in Pittsburgh, who's won a Super Bowl. Yeah, right, Mike Tomlin. So, but you don't hear that that's a tree. Right. They don't associate that. Right. So they keep going back to these guys and have a certain idea, and that idea never envisioned somebody like me. So it always looks like somebody that looks like Adam Gase. Just the fact of the matter that you had a coach in with the Rams go on, and McVay, who goes on and has a great little run. All of a sudden, they want to hire every assistant that looks like McVay. It doesn't make any sense. If you're hiring the best people, you don't have this issue because you're not looking at who they are as far as the look. You're looking at what they can do.
Exactly.
What are their qualifications? And they do not do that. It goes in every phase of the game. When we're looking for quarterbacks, well, if it's a black quarterback, he's athletic. We have to, he's going to be the guy that runs around. And, did you watch the film? Because he's very much a pocket passer. Exactly. Okay? The fact that you had sports writers coming out saying that about Dwayne Haskins shows you that the problem existed before. It is funny. The black sports writer is the one that said that. Right. And I'm going to leave him nameless right now because he's very popular, a lot more popular than me. But anyway,
I do want to say one thing. I'm tired of hearing this excuse that I'm hearing a lot of people bring up for Eric Bieniemy is that, he's a bad interview. His interviews haven't gone well. Let me ask you something. Rex Ryan probably gave the greatest interview ever. Rex Ryan was going to go in there and win the interview all the time. How did that work out for Rex Ryan?
I guarantee you there were coaches who have been hired who are horrible interviews. You can't tell me Richie Kotite was a great interview twice. Right. Okay. If you tell me Adam Gase was a great interview, I'm going to call you a liar to your face. There's no way. Looking at his personality, he showed you his personality. Does that guy look like he can interview well?
Right? Couldn't even pay attention at the press conference.
Well, but see, But see, you guys, this is where I'm gonna even take it a step further because this is where I draw the line with some of the hirings now. Okay, if you look at some of the hirings so far, you got guys who are picked up from different staffs that were coordinators, weren't position coaches. Okay, and if you notice, and this is my personal belief, and if I'm wrong, y'all can check me, correct me, whatever. This is fine, okay? But one of the main reasons why we are seeing this continuous trend is because they want a guy that's not going to challenge the owner, that's not going to challenge the GM, that's not going to sit up there and go to the office and be like, hey, look, there's this guy that I want to play as my quarterback, and I don't want this guy sitting in the pocket all the time. Can we get someone else? Can we get some draft picks? Okay, can I have a little bit of control of my team? They don't want that. So instead, what they prefer to do is let me get a whole bunch of puppets that say yes and yes and yes all the time until somebody says no. We can't cover the fact that they're saying yes too much because their record shows that they can't coach. And that is the issue.
Well, I'm going to give you one more example, and you can jump this down one level to the NCAA. Okay, everybody's making a big deal about Deion at Jackson State, right? Mm-hmm. Where did Deion play his college football at? Florida State. Like Florida State's been looking for a head coach for some time now. They haven't had any success at the position, right? They didn't want to give him the opportunity. All right. So you look at it. Let's go back to Philadelphia. Philadelphia just interviewed Kellen Moore for their head coaching position. All right. Kellen Moore was being chased by his alma mater of Boise State, FBS school. So the FBS school is going to chase somebody like Kellen Moore, who has that look of what people think is a head coach, as opposed to an NFL Hall of Famer who's been coaching for several seasons now, who knows the college football landscape, who knows the NFL landscape, and you're not going to give him a chance at the FBS level. So you have to have a HBCU come in and bring him in. Now, that tells you all right there. Why? Because Deion Sanders is going to say something. Something that's going to piss off a booster, piss off the administration if he doesn't like what he sees. That is unacceptable to them. They can't have you doing that. So that's part of the problem. What you said exactly about challenging ownership is part of the problem. Okay. So yeah, it is what it is. Calling a spade, it is not a meritocracy. I wish they would stop saying that. It doesn't even fit the definition of the word, the way you hire people in those leadership positions. I'm sorry. Your actions prove louder than words. And the word meritocracy does not equate. All right? So, it's that special time. It's fourth quarter. Everybody throw up your fours. Fourth quarter. All right. Here we go for all the marbles. All right. Give me your predictions for championship weekend. All right. So, Dom, this one's all you.
All righty. So let's start with Chiefs and Bills. We'll save the real juicy matchup for last. Like I said, I am under the impression Patrick Mahomes will play. He's in the concussion protocol right now. He did do a little bit of limited practice now. However, that doesn't mean too much, because if they come out and he, says like, oh, I was having a headache, or if they say that, hey, they set him back, then he has to start the protocol all the way over. And then that means that, obviously he wouldn't play. But I'm going to assume Patrick Mahomes plays. And if Patrick Mahomes is going to play, that's one of the, say that clip right there, that is one of the greatest traditions in football, that Buffalo Bills fans just absolutely slaughter foldable tables for no apparent reason during tailgates before games. It's incredible. I love it. But all of the broken tables in the world, if Patrick Mahomes plays, won't stop this Chiefs team. This team, I think that, like I said, Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, is on his way to becoming the greatest quarterback of all time. And we'll talk about Tom Brady because he is the GOAT right now. But Patrick Mahomes is quickly climbing that ladder. He's got a long way to go, but he's climbing it. And like I said, it's just the amount of weapons. And I feel like this Chiefs defense, we've seen this now 2 years in a row. Granted, we've only seen them play one game in the playoffs, but this Chiefs defense kind of turns it on at the right time. They know when it feels like the playoffs come and they lock in and say, hey, listen, guys, 3 games and we're champions. Lock in for 3 games and we are champions. And it feels like that's what's happening. If Patrick Mahomes is there, I think the Chiefs win this. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be good. I'm interested to see how Josh Allen reacts to this pressure. Obviously, this is his first time in a conference championship game, so it's going to be fun seeing that. But I just feel like this Bills defense isn't going to be able to stop that Chiefs offense, especially if Patrick Mahomes is there. So I have the Chiefs winning this one. I'll even give you a score. I'll say Chiefs 31-26, right? Next up, NFC Conference Championship game. This one is the one I'm super excited for. It's in Lambeau, and, it's supposed to be a little snowy. Not going to be super cold. It's in the 34 degrees. Maybe it'll be, I think they said the feel is going to be like 25 or something like that with the wind chill. And Aaron Rodgers and this offense have been playing lights out. They've really been playing well. Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams has been unstoppable this year. And that Packers defense finally came around. Now, granted, they haven't played the greatest of offenses as of recently, but that Packers defense really came around and they're starting to play well, which is a huge plus for them. However, it feels like this Bucs team is getting hot at the right time. And the biggest thing that scares me about the Bucs is Devin White came back and put up one of the best single defensive performances I've ever seen. Like, he was everywhere against the Saints. And on top of that, you have this defense playing at the elite level that I thought they could when I looked at their roster. But more importantly than anything, we know about Tom Brady, right? We know the weapons that they have. Antonio Brown's going to play. They have Gronk. They have Mike Evans. They have Chris Godwin. Like, it's a plethora, it's a charcuterie board of just offensive talent. But they really started getting the run game going. And it would be a little funny if that kind of catches the Packers, because that's exactly what did them in last year, was their inability to stop the run when they went up against the 49ers. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones are running the ball really well right now. It seems like they're hitting their stride. I like the Bucs in this game. I think it'll be much closer than the first time. But I think Tom Brady is in that zone, and he wants to prove, hey, I can do this without Bill Belichick. Okay, that dynasty that we built, that was more Brady than Belichick. I feel like he wants to prove that. And what better way to prove that than going down to Tampa Bay in year one after very quietly putting up the greatest single season for a quarterback in Tampa Bay Bucs history as far as just stats go and passing touchdowns. What better way to do that than go down to Tampa and win in your first year and be the first team also to not only play in the Super Bowl and host it, be in the same city, but to win it. I like Brady. I just think that he's going to lock in, and I'll say Bucs win this one. Don't think this one is as high scoring. I'll say Bucs. I like Bucs 23-20.
Not bad. Thomas, what you got?
Oh boy. Wow. By the way, I like to add in that in case anybody thought that they weren't going to watch the games this weekend, I advise that you check them out, because they're going to be good. Okay, I'm gonna start off in the NFC. Okay, I believe in my heart of hearts. Okay, and this is with Brady having Brady and the offense having the hot hand right now, especially with the defense playing the way that they played against New Orleans last week. I get it. But I just think that Green Bay is a more complete team. And I think that they will show up stopping the run against Fournette and Jones. With Kenny Clark and Zadarius Smith showing up the front. I think Smith, this what I like to call the Smith brothers, are going to get after Tom Brady. They're going to pressure him a lot. It's going to be cold. Okay. Aaron Rodgers is at home. This is the first time he's been at home in an NFC Championship game. So if you can only imagine with the little bit of fans that are there, the impact he's going to have with his offense. I think with the lack of playoff experience on the Tampa Bay's defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball, is going to cost them a little bit. So I'm going to go with Green Bay. I do plan on it being a little bit on the high scoring end, okay? So I'm aiming for 35-31 Aaron Rodgers and the Packers get it done. Let's move on to the AFC Championship game. And boy, oh boy, me personally, I wouldn't mind who wins this game because I think we're going to get a great Super Bowl regardless. But this is going back to the topic we had earlier. Obviously, this is contingent on whether or not Patrick Mahomes plays or not. But I'm seeing a Chiefs team that is playing. They're gelling and they're playing complementary football, and they're running the football and stopping the run. Which is bowling well for them, given the fact that they're playing against the Bills, who has to rely on Allen's arm to win it, which is not necessarily bad, but after, 40-plus pass attempts in cold Kansas City, it may not be all too well. So I think that the Chiefs defense will step up. I think Travis Kelce will have a great game. I think that the running back by committee is going to be strong against the Bills' front seven, which will cause for whether or not Mahomes plays or not, for what type of game it will be. But I think Kansas City will beat the Bills, in as strange as that sounds, because I think it's just going to be that crazy of a game. I think this will be more of the low-scoring game. I think I would put the score Kansas City 24, Buffalo 17. So, oh boy, I will see y'all check it out because I know I am. Get your popcorn ready, as T.O. would say, because these are both great games, and regardless of who wins in both of them, they're going to be great storylines, and I can't wait.
Indeed. Man, listen, I don't know. You have to. That has to have been started by alcohol or insanity, or a combination of both.
It's awesome.
Listen,
it's awesome.
I'm a wrestling fan. Don't get me wrong. But there's certain things you just can't fake. Okay, jumping through a table, you cannot fake that.
Yes.
Okay, right, and to do that on concrete, on whatever else it's jumping on, is insane.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure they're not loving the medical bills when it goes wrong.
Boy, they let us cover it.
Hey, listen. If the Bills win this game, you better buy stock in white tables.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Well, keep those out of Tampa, please. So it's that time, fellas. Let's crown a winner. And with that being said, by a razor-thin margin, we have a winner. Is it going to be Dom? Is he getting back on a winning track tonight? Does Thomas make a triumphant return back to No Huddle Necessary? By the slightest margin, I mean paper thin, Dom gets back on track with the win. With just 2 shows left after this one, Dom is back in the winner's circle. He got the FaceTime. Hang on 1 second, Thomas. I'm coming to the back with you. Dom.
All righty. Whew. Feels good to be back in the winners column. All right. It's always nice. Today, I have to talk about my Steelers. And there's a specific player that I want to talk to. Big Ben. Listen. Love you dearly. Okay. I am 23 years old. We'll be turning 24 in May. During my lifetime, I've seen you lead us to 3 Super Bowls, win us 2. It's been a really good time. It's really good fandom, right? I've been fair. You know, I feel like the football guys have been kind to me with this team. Without a doubt, Hall of Famer. Without a doubt, in my opinion, the greatest Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback of all time. And at times, I probably feel like underrated because he came in an era with Brady and Manning and Brees and maybe got overlooked at times. So I'm forever thankful. However, it's time. Ben, I know you may feel like you still have a year left, and maybe you do. Maybe you do have a year left where you can still be productive and be maybe not one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but maybe you can be top 10, top 15, you know. But if you really love Pittsburgh and you really love this organization, you will do us a huge favor and retire. Because quite honestly, we have to deal with a lot of cap issues this year. We have multiple guys going in free agency. Bud Dupree, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, Matt Filer, Alejandro Villanueva, Cameron Hayward. The list goes on and on and on. We need to re-sign a lot of those guys. And Ben, if you come back next year, that's $41 million from our salary cap already, which is over a fifth of the cap. The cap is only going to go down this year because of COVID and the loss of revenue. Ben, it's time. Hang the cleats up. Do us a favor. Call it a career. This was really kind of our last shot. This was the last hurrah for us. This was kind of the end of our Super Bowl window because after this, we're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. Ben, it's been a great ride. Thank you for all of the memories, but it's time.
Okay, he brought the fire on that one. Man, a heartfelt message to Ben. Retire.
Yeah. It pains me. I've been waiting. For about 3 years now, the past 3 years, it's really dawned on me that, wow, this day is going to kind of come soon. You know, like Ben was drafted in 2004. So I've really only known Ben. Like when Ben was drafted, I was 7 years old. So I've really only known Ben my entire time as a Steeler fan. So it does not bring me any joy to say this, but it would be what's best for us.
I've known Bradshaw, Joe Gillum, even Bubby Brister, Neil O'Donnell, and several others, Tommy Maddox, and Ben Roethlisberger. I've seen a lot of Steeler quarterbacks, and yes, listen, there'll be a lot of Steeler fans. Plenty of my friends, Steeler fans from the 70s, will say, oh, no, he's not better than Bradshaw. But if you look at the teams Bradshaw had, there was a reason why he won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Right? So, and they weren't always Terry Bradshaw. Let's be realistic. I could throw the Swan and Stallworth. Okay? Right? Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Look at the highlights of those Super Bowls. Lynn Swan falling to the ground, catching the ball with one hand.
Yeah, I can hand the ball off to Franco Harris.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't a great quarterback. He wasn't the greatest. And he wasn't even top 10 in my book. But anyway, I will digress on that one. But yeah. I see the regression in Ben. I saw it before the season when he came back, you know, and he had that horrible first half in the opener. I was like, yeah, Big Ben isn't the same. He came back and was hot, and people go, ooh. At the end of the season, he fell right back off again.
Yep.
And then there's a point where the body says, I am not what I used to be.
Yep.
And I think the offensive playing calling became part of that because it became what you hated, which was short passing game first, deep passing game second. Usually when that happens, it usually means the quarterback can't do it anymore.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah.
But the body is not. It's time. It's time, Ben.
Now, the question is, what happens? $40 million next year, right?
Ben wants to come back. He says he wants to come back. It sounds like he's committing to coming back.
If he's coming back, that means you gotta restructure the deal.
We'll see. You have to.
You got to add a year on and restructure it to lessen the cap hit.
Yeah.
You got to kick the can. As we say, we got to kick the can down the road. You can't.
Ben's going to be 39 in March. Ben's going to be 39 in March.
Yep. And everybody else in his class that was drafted with him is gone now.
Retired.
Rivers retired today.
Rivers retired. Eli retired
last year.
Man, it's time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's time.
And speaking of time, it's time for.
Oh no, I think Jeff's frozen. We're trapped.
Oh.
We're trapped, Thomas. We can't leave. We can't leave, Thomas.
See,
We're trapped.
I figured there was something wrong with the scoring system. I should have known. No wonder he froze.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. But nevertheless, it is time for us to go. So you guys hang tight. I'm going to bump you to the back.
Oh no, it happened again.
See. I'm tempted with the conspiracy.
Thomas, we're in the sunken place. It's
yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, somebody must be censoring, man. I must have said something to piss somebody off.
They don't want us to leave.
They're cutting my Wi-Fi off here. All right, I'm gonna bump you guys to the back. Hang on. All right, guys. All right. So Wi-Fi and all. It was a great show. Just 2 more shows to go. Next week's show will be the week between Super Bowls. And then we have the week after. And then after that, we go on hiatus. So there will be no huddle necessary. We'll be back in the summer before the season starts, before training camp starts. Right now, we're going to be shifting focus to Nuts and Bolts Sports Draft Central, bringing you the draft coverage. Will be in the same slot Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. here on the Nuts and Bolts Sports Network. Myself, Bill Carroll, and we'll be bringing in people talking about prospects, talking to prospects, trying to bring you also a couple of other draft experts, get you some draft knowledge, all right, on this year's draft class. So with that being said, I am Jeff Barnes telling you good night and God bless. And of course, congratulations, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, our new president and vice president. Best of luck in your term. Lord knows we need it after the past 4 years. All right. I'm Jeff Barnes. Thanks for watching. Have a nice night.